Dragon Boat is a watercraft racing sport in which 20 paddlers get onto a single canoe. This is a gigantic 40-foot long canoe. There is one person in the front as a drummer and one person in the back as a steers. And we race these boats against other teams. Dragon Boat is a lot more obscure. Not a lot of people know what it is. So the first thing that we do during recruitment is that we have to show people just how much of a team-based thing we are. When a lot of people come out to our open practices, they're not just attracted to the paddling, but to the family aspect that we provide. Even as we get into the more competitive training season, that team aspect is still one of the most important things to our performance as a crew. Because although there are plenty of team sports out there, Dragon Boat is unique in which all 20 members get onto a single boat and must paddle in perfect unison in order to maximize our performance.
The practices that I've had in just this year, the 16th generation alone, have been some of the most intense and difficult practices I've ever had. As I'm getting more and more paddling time, we're doing 22-minute pieces with each other, where we're just literally non-stop paddling for 22 minutes, and there are intervals where we sprint for a portion and then we relax for a portion, sprint for a portion, relax for a portion. And these 20-minute pieces, man, they're incredible. They don't just test your muscles, they test your mental, right? You have to be locked in the entire time. And we train for so long and for, like multiple days, hours per day, days per week, weeks per quarter, all that kind of stuff, right? And we train for one 500-meter piece, essentially. Of course, we have multiple races, but we train for one race.
That's it, crew! Power 5 now!
Besides just the typical gym workouts, land conditionings, and water practices, many people also like to go outrigger canoeing. This is also paddling, but instead of a huge, gigantic dragon boat, which needs to be filled with 20 paddlers, an outrigger canoe typically holds 1 to 2 people. This is an excellent way for people to train their personal water feel, which is something that we touch on very frequently, because dragon boat's not just about having a lot of strength, it's not just about having upper body strength, it's not just about having great cardio, but it's also really essential that we have the proper technique in order to hold on to water pressure and pull it backwards so that we may propel the boat forward. And outrigger canoeing is an excellent way to practice that. Something that we mention every so often when we train together is that there are no heroes on the boat. What that means is that not a single person can carry the entire team. It takes all 20 paddlers working together to take us across the finish line. It's incredible just how hard the boat can go when someone yells words of encouragement for each other. Because at that very moment, when you hear even simple words as "you got more, you can do this," and the whole crew responds, it really just explodes with just how much faster we go, how much harder people put in the work. The team really feeds off of its own energy and seeing each other work hard. At some point, it's no longer about putting in your own work just to win. It's about working hard for each other and supporting each other off of that.
So let me hear what you got! I'm fired up, you're fired up! Yeah! I'm fired up, you're fired up! Yeah! I'm fired up, you're fired up! Yeah! E-E-E-L-E, F-E-S-E-S, elements, UCI elements!
Dragon boat races are typically won by fractions of a second against each other. Therefore, it's absolutely essential that every detail be perfect during a race piece. Any paddler that messes up with their timing on the boat could cost the team half a second off of the race piece, and that could ultimately be the difference between a win and a loss.
No, number 1's coming.
Let's go win!
When everything is on the line, there's just that certain spark that happens during our finals pieces where everyone just gets together and they pour everything that they have into the race piece in perfect sync. And it's one of the most beautiful pieces of art that you could ever experience. When everyone is just putting everything they have into making the strongest race piece ever for that weekend. college teams in California, UCI is generally ranked within the top four. There's Berkeley, LA, San Diego, and Irvine. These top four teams are currently in contention for the best college team.
UCIDB has been a second place team for as long as I've been on the team, to put it best. Not that we've only ever gotten second place. We've of course, had our highs, had our lows. But if we were to take an average, UCIDB would have a long history, in fact, of being a second place team. Lake Merritt is a race that we do every year, and our rival team Cal also does every year. And finally, for the first time, I think in UCIDB history, I want to say, don't quote me on that, but first time in UCIDB history, we kicked them out. We booted them from being able to compete in the top, in the highest division. I believe it's Championship A. Don't quote me on that either. But Championship A, they weren't even in the competition. So we were among the 6 best boats at that competition. And we were the only college team to represent, and typically that's Cal. I remember afterwards just breaking down, I just had to kneel on the spot and just let it all out because it had been such a long time coming. I didn't see it coming that early. Andrew and I talked a lot early on about ushering in the golden years of UCIDB. And what that means is for us to become a perennial first place team. We're not just first place at one race and then we kind of disappear and then come back maybe once a few years later. Like, we want to be first place every race for the next couple years. We want to build something that's special here. And I honestly didn't see it coming that quickly, but it did. And we've known for a long time that we're not the team we're not the Thunder, we're not the Fire, we're not the UCIDB of years past. We're a completely different monster. And this team just wants to know how much more they can do.
Irvine's pretty unique among the Dragon Boat community for being one of the only teams, if not the only team, to have green as our actual team color. And therefore the term bleed green refers only to Irvine. Bleed green itself is, you could say that it kind of refers to just how hard and how ingrained Dragon Boat is in every one of us. We work out so often. We hang out, study together, eat together. A lot of people even live together so often that it has become a part of our daily lives and a part of our identity. So when we say bleed green, what that really refers to is just how much this team has changed us.
1, 2, 3, Irvine strong!